I'm Marcus Smith, and this is Constant Wonder. Every morning, we awake to a world marvelously alive. Where do we encounter awe and wonder in this world? In animals and plants, in deserts on mountains, in forests, ocean and sky, in history, art and science, in human striving and human kindness. Join us as we quest for the awe and wonder of knowing we are part of something infinitely larger than ourselves. When somebody says beehive, what do you imagine? For most of us, two possibilities come instantly to mind. There's, of course, the obsolete straw-colored upside-down basket thingy called a skep, made from tightly coiled rope. And then there's the modern wooden box or stack of boxes, most frequently painted white, containing rectangular frames, where the bees suspend their parallel panels of honeycomb. Now, forget those. Today we're going to learn about two beehives, the likes of which you've never seen before. The first is as large as a 5-story building, with hexagons everywhere and the sounds of bees buzzing, just no bees or honey anywhere inside it. The second, an old cello of all things. It does contain honey and honeycomb along with living bees in all the various stages of development from larvae to adult bees and a queen. Now, because I love hearing a well-played cello, and even played a little cello back in high school, I'm going to get ahead of myself here with a quick preview of that part of today's episode. Think of an old cello that once reverberated with, maybe a little Beethoven. Think of its hollow body now encasing a bee colony. The concept for this bee cello originated with Martin and Deidre Benchik. The Benchiks live in England. Now, before they ever produced a bee cello, Martin, who is a physicist originally from France, had already conducted lots of bee experiments. These began when he placed sensors on his father's conventional beehives to pick up and measure vibrations. Eventually, there came a day when his wife Deidre, a professional cellist, brought home an old discarded cello, and between the two of them, the lights went on. They would undertake a highly unconventional project, pairing this old musical instrument with living bees. It was quite a scheme, all wrapped up in the physics of vibration, the science of bee communication, the art and symbolism of music, the mysteries of social animals like bees, and above all else, the Benchik's concern for the health and future of life on Earth, because we humans, like all other living things on the planet, rely on pollinator insects. I was delighted to meet the Benchiks, and am equally delighted to bring you this conversation with the two of them together here on Constant Wonder. In order to fully appreciate their creative journey that led to the bee cello, we're going to need a backstory that includes that 5-story beehive I mentioned earlier, possibly the largest beehive metaphor ever conceived and actually constructed, now standing in the famous Kew Gardens in London. Martin, I believe you and I have something in common. My father was a beekeeper, and I understand yours was too.
Yes, indeed. Not a professional beekeeper, but a hobbyist, an amateur beekeeper. What about your dad? Was he amateur as well?
It was all hobby, and it was mostly done, I'm sure, incorrectly.
At least at the start, always incorrectly, at the start.
Yeah. Did you like that kind of a childhood?
I wasn't particularly attracted to the bees, and I got stung many times. But he drew me into it because I would have an income if I sold the honey that I was spinning. So I did the honey part of the beekeeping, the spinning of the honey, the putting it into jars, the selling it to customers. And then I had the income in my pocket. I didn't enjoy the beekeeping. I enjoyed the money in my pocket from selling the honey.
Martin's dislike for bees didn't hold, though. Years later, he had a chance to reconnect with his father's beehives. As a trained physicist and mathematician, he salvaged some equipment from a university lab that was shutting down, vibration sensors called accelerometers. Not at first sure what to do with these devices, he turned to his father, the beekeeper, for ideas. And together they wired the accelerometers onto hives to record the subtle vibrations made by these insects. That was way back in 2008, at the beginning of Martin's scientific exploration into the hidden signals of bees, especially the mystery of their swarming.
So I left it to my dad to give me guidance. I asked him, what's of interest to a beekeeper? And he said, you must try to sense the bees preparing for the swarming. He said, if you can do that, you've got a winner. So that was the target. That was the aim at the time.
Would I be right in assuming that the outcome here of your studies would be based on potential signals that bees would be giving each other, communicating to each other it's time to swarm?
So we did not know what to expect. But there is a text which is 3,000 or 4,000 years old by Aristotle, the Greek philosopher. And many thousand years ago, that book already stated the rumor that before the swarming process, the sound that you can hear coming from a honeybee hive is changing substantially. So there was this rumor thousands of years ago. And then in the 1950s, there was a British engineer who claimed that he had a device to listen to bees and he could predict the swarming process, and there was no real proof for it. And so these were the two publications that I had in my pocket to try and to know what to expect. But to be honest, we did not know what to expect. So no, there was no science, there was nothing we knew what to expect. We just did the measurement and tried it.
Martin's research into hive communication, still ongoing today, eventually pulled him into collaboration with an artist named Wolfgang Buttress. The two would work on an ambitious project together. Buttress was conceptualizing something he called the Hive, an art installation of epic proportions that he envisioned for the 2015 World Expo in Milan, Italy.
The artist approached me by email a year before the project. He told me he was bidding for funds to try to secure that project. It was the UK pavilion for the World Expo, and the UK government opened a competition, and he was in the process of bidding for this funding. He rang me up, and the only thing he knew, the only thing that I knew, was the theme of the World Expo. And in 2015, the theme was Feed the Planet, Energy for Life. And you could do whatever you wanted to. You had to answer the theme, and then the best project got funded. And so the artist, Wolfgang Buttress, he told me, I want to answer the theme, not by showcasing the amazing food that we produce in England, not by showcasing quantity and the industry. I want to showcase the problem of feeding the planet by honing onto this small insect, the honeybee, that is pollinating so many plants and that is helping us so much producing food for mankind. So I said, that's a wonderful idea. How can I help? And he said, I hear you have these vibration measurements in honeybees. Could I pay you a visit? So he came on campus. He heard the measurements of honeybees that we were getting with the accelerometers. And he thought that was the winning project. He said, that's it. I want your recordings. I want your help. I want your contribution. We did bid. We secured the funds. We had the winning project. And from then onwards, it was a crazy year of my life where I skipped out of academia many times and contributed to this gigantic project, which is artwork, is now at Kew Gardens.
The structure, it's something I've seen actually online, pictures of it from the Kew Garden website.
Yeah.
I would describe it as being, I don't know, maybe 4 stories tall. It's very tall.
Yeah.
It's sort of an open lattice work of what looks to be aluminum beams.
Yeah.
And you can see through it. You can see daylight straight through it. But it's configured in an array of multiple hexagons, which is apt for something that's going to be called the hive, right?
Yeah, and the hexagons, Wolfgang wanted them to look organic, so he did not want them to look strictly identical. So he had a computer that slightly distorted the hexagons. You can't see it on one particular hexagon, but if you look at the structure overall, you have a feeling of the structure moving in space because the hexagons are slightly distorted. Just like in a real honeybee hive, the comb wouldn't be a perfect rectangle. In reality, they use corridors and shapes which fits their purposes. And so these hexagons, which look very slightly different from each other, they're made of aluminum, but they are each different. And there was something like 200,000 different bars that had to be cut separately in order to make this structure, because all the hexagons are very slightly different.
I want to underscore how truly monumental, both in its size and function, this winning art installation is. Subsequent to its debut in Milan for the Expo, it was dismantled, then reassembled, as I've already indicated, at the Kew Gardens in London, where it stands today as a major attraction. I don't expect you to travel there necessarily, but be sure to do as I did and look it up online. Maybe the simplest description I could give is that the whole thing looks like an abstract but unmistakable architectural representation of honeycomb, almost hovering in the air with no walls around it. But we often think of architecture as inert or static. The Hives' impression is anything but static, and here's why. It features a dynamic real-time connection to living bees that are housed in a separate small regular beehive located nearby on the garden grounds. Inside that small hive, accelerometers capture the hum of the colony and relay those signals to the 56-foot tall structure. Visitors can enter the giant aluminum representation of a hive and have an immersive, multisensory experience. The bee activity, which is remote, as I've explained, is always shifting, and it produces a kind of choreography, you could say. More than 1,000 LED lights attached to the beams or girders are synced to dance along with the bees' unrelenting energy and the shifting patterns of sound. At first, this light show may seem like random patterns, but it's all directly driven by the bees. So standing inside the hive, watching the lights, you get a visual sense of the colony's activity at any given moment. And that's not all that's going on with this piece of art, though, because there is an aural component as well. This is where Deidre Benchik has offered a helping hand as a professional cellist. After listening carefully to a humming hive, she determined that buzzing bee vibrations conform very nicely to the musical key of C. She then began improvising on her cello to produce musical material to fit whatever she heard, complementing the colony's shifting natural sound patterns. Ultimately, working together in a musical ensemble, which goes by the simple name Bee, just 2 letters here actually, spelled B-E, Deidre has helped create a library of soundscapes that you can hear when you're inside the hive. These add another sensory layer to the whole impression that is lent by this artwork's architecture and the lights. And to mention yet another ingenious component of the overall immersive experience, you can even physically feel something akin to bee language with the assistance of bone conductors, which translate the sounds into tactile vibrations that travel into your body's bones. One more very effective way to represent the secret world of bees. Although when it comes to bone conductors, I kind of think I'd rather visit the hive equipped with my very own exoskeleton.
You hear the humming, the buzzing, and the signals as the colony is changing status across the day, across the year. It's a metaphor for a honeybee hive. Each time you go, the artwork looks different. Each time you go, the artwork feels different. So you enter artwork, you hear my bees, and we hope that the visitor is connected to the mood that the bees are in at that particular moment in time.
Deidre Benchik joins our conversation here in just a moment as we shift our attention from the massive art installation at Kew Gardens to the story of Martin and Deidre's much smaller cello full of bees, which stands over 100 miles to the north in Nottingham, England, at a place called Home Pierpont Hall. I'm Marcus Smith, and you're listening to Constant Wonder. I'd like to introduce you to another show from the BYU Radio family of podcasts, The Lisa Show, hosted by comedian, believer, and single mother Lisa Valentine Clark. The Lisa Show delves into most any challenge that meets us in the course of our lives, especially challenges in the realm of human relationships, whether it's parenting, mental health questions, or social issues. Lisa and her council of moms are willing to tackle it. Figuring life out is vexing enough without losing an ability to laugh or cry together or just plain talk things through. The Lisa Show. Listen wherever you get your podcasts. We now return to Constant Wonder. From Martin Benchik's early scientific experiments with his father's bees and a hive-inspired art installation in Milan and London, we now follow the Benchik story as it takes a truly strange turn, veering directly into the world of music, into the body of a musical instrument, in fact. The concept, novel though it may have been, really hasn't ever been all that complicated, nor was it ever really at odds with the nature of bees in their basic need for a hollow space in which to make a home. Back now to my conversation with Martin and Deidre Benchik. Deidre, it's great to have you with us. Thank you for joining.
Hi there. Hi.
At what point in the story did you get involved with this?
It sort of amorphosed into a combination of both of our passions, mine playing the cello and making music, and Martin's obviously with the bees. And I think Martin just said one day, let's put the bees into a cello, which was absolutely bonkers, of course, but why not give it a try? That's not a bad idea. I mean, bees would live in the hollow of a tree, naturally, so we thought we'd give it a try, and it worked.
I need to stop you for just a moment here because Martin, Deidre just said bonkers, and that's not particularly flattering, you know. It just seems to me that the idea that it come out of thin air. And did you hesitate at all to bring up this kind of sacrilege to a musician to say, I'm going to put a beehive in your instrument?
There was a very good reason why it wasn't sacrilege. Tell us about your finding of that instrument.
Well, I mean, at that time I was working in primary schools, and lots of little cellos, unfortunately, would have accidents. And a particular cello, which was a very small child instrument, was completely broken and ready to be thrown out. And so I said, I'll take that home. And I think that's when Martin said, let's put some bees in it then. So it was just recycling in a very nice way, but combining the interest of us both. And something just sparked from that moment. And here we are now with, 10 years on. They're not performers' instruments, so if anyone is a cellist and listening to this, please don't panic. These are cellos that would not have had much of a life and have either been donated kindly to us for this project or were so broken that they would not be playable.
And rather than sacrilege, I would like to call it a sacrifice. So the idea of giving up such an amazing, beautiful, highly sophisticated instrument that has taken many years of improvement until we get to the modern cello. The idea of giving it to a little insect for them to establish themselves, we find it beautiful, we find it an interesting message to convey that bees, this little insect, deserves to be given a cavity by man, and by giving it such a splendid cavity, which is shockingly sophisticated, you draw people's attention on the importance of the bees to us. So it's like a sacrifice. It's like saying bees are worth it.
So, Martin, you realize that the story you've just told, going right back to the beginning in your childhood, this is miles down the road from where you started not liking the bees.
Yes,
what
I
accounts,
have changed a lot.
Yeah, what accounts for this conversion of your attitude?
Very good question. I am learning every year, and the things that I value in life, they change as I grow older. I'm very careful about the word important now because I have changed my mind on the things that I value. And I've come to realize that perhaps nothing is important. The word important is something most people understand relative to themselves. And all you hear about the importance of bees or any other animal is most often related to our own interest. But honeybees are no more important than hornets and sharks and whales and pests. So the concept of importance has changed a lot as I have grown older. And now I find honeybees just as important as man, perhaps more important than man, I don't know. But the word important is something I'm very careful of now.
Yeah. You have said elsewhere that you could spend hours just watching the bees in a cello in their hive. There's plexiglass applied to the back of these where the back of the cello is removed, and then you can see what's going on inside the hive. I'm going to push you on that. Can you actually sit there for hours and watch the bees in the cello?
If you did it, I can't explain it. So yes, indeed, to answer your question quickly, but to expand on it, I'm afraid to say I can't explain the satisfaction it gives you to put bees in a cello. You have to do it for yourself. It's quite challenging. It's not something you do quickly and easily. There's a lot of preparation involved, and there's a lot of effort to do with putting the bees in it, make sure they're happy in there. There is a unexplainable satisfaction in doing something that lasts with the bees, doing something that's never been done before, doing something that is, I find, beautiful. Not everybody finds it beautiful. We think it's beautiful. And watching them coming in and out gives you the evidence that they are satisfied with that cavity. So you've given them a home that they like. You've produced something beautiful. Yes, indeed, we can watch it for hours. It's absolutely true. You have to try it. You have to do it for yourself. You have to engage with nature, with the bees. I think perhaps people who are keen gardeners, people who produce a vegetable or a flower, after many months of efforts, I think they will be on the wavelength where we are with this project. It's something that takes a lot of time to establish, months of preparation, and then suddenly it works, and then suddenly you see the bees expanding in the cello, you see them foraging, you see them, you witness the cello promoting their life, promoting their development, just like a gardener would do slowly.
And I just want to go one step back to the question that you asked Martin earlier, because Martin won't spend hours staring at his beehives. It's about the wonder. It literally is about the wonder of having bees in a cello. It is the absolute wonder that you've created this space and they like it. It makes us happy that they're happy. And so you're looking and you're observing, and it gives you such joy to see that it's working and they are happy there.
Deidre, I have seen videos of you on the internet playing these cellos. I don't even know how to describe this. It's
dangerous.
Well, that does come to mind. Yes, indeed. It's kind of shocking. It's kind of bizarre. It's a little surreal. It's all of the above. And yet, when you do it in such a manner that you look like you're being a bit cautious, but you also look happy to be there.
Yeah, that's so true. I think we're both quite similar in the way that we like challenges. It's not something I've ever done before, and so I like the challenge. And of course I play the cello, you play the cello, and you've probably never played a cello with bees in it. Would you be interested?
If it involves a flight to England, the tourist in me says yes.
Well, there you go. You're invited. Come anytime. I mean, to just put the foundation of this is, I'm actually highly allergic to bees. So when I say dangerous, I would actually suffer quite a lot. But this is relevant only to say that I trust what's going on. The bees have never attacked me as I play the cello. I have been stung by bees, but it was my own fault because I was mowing the lawn and I got too close and they didn't like the vibrations of the lawnmower to the beehives. I've learned from that very quickly.
But they didn't object to that of the cello?
No. So I've played it with a beekeeping suit on for caution, as you say, but I've learnt that I can trust them. They are so busy doing what they need to do. It's really irrelevant that I'm standing there playing this beehive, which is the shape of a cello. So as crazy as it sounds, it's both exciting, challenging, rewarding, and innovative.
What you're hearing right now, this very moment, because I know you've been dying to hear it, is a recording of Deidre actually playing a bee cello with those little honeybees, seemingly unperturbed, coming and going. Am I wrong to call these cellos, because there's more than one now, there are several cellos that have been configured like this. Is it wrong to call these art installations?
What do you mean by art installation?
Where the primary objective would be that the artist follows her or his muse and wants to then present the results to a public.
I don't think so, because I don't think that was our objective. Our objective was to just give the bees another home, and it happens to be a cello.
And as far as I'm concerned, this particular work is giving us a huge satisfaction, and it's exhibited to the public, and we look after it year after year. It started 10 years ago, and we are not promoting it. We are not trying to make it a product, and we are not questioning it. We're not putting any label on it. We just love it, and we keep looking after it year after year, and it's giving us huge satisfaction. But we don't have a particular aims and goals with it. It's something we absolutely love doing. That's it. End of the story.
So from what you said earlier, it seems to me that there's a kind of purity of motive, if I could call it that, where there's no commodification, there's no utilitarian kind of attempt. You do harvest honey out of the cellos, though? You do
Impossible.
not. You do not.
No, that's another huge satisfaction of this particular colony, because beekeeping is a little bit like farming. In fact, professional beekeepers here, they're called bee farmers. And there is a purpose to the beekeepers. It's the honey, and they look after bees in order to extract the honey. And so another huge satisfaction of that bee cello is to look after bees without asking anything back in return. We never open the cello. We never harvest any honey, any pollen. It's a wild nest which is living its life as if it was in a hollow tree.
Deidre, what has been the response from your perspective in terms of what I'm going to call an eccentricity of this activity? Yeah.
Well, people are curious and interested. I think, there's a lot of why, which is easily explained in just the word bonkers. And I mean, people have been so supportive of the idea, because our purpose is really to highlight bees. And if it's a wacky idea that gives that a voice, then it wasn't our purpose, but it seems to be doing that, which is quite nice as a consequence.
There's a famous children's book, The Lorax, by Dr. Seuss, and the idea is, somebody should speak for the trees is the idea. But from what I hear you both say, I'm not sure that you're wanting to speak for the bees so much as letting them live somewhere where they could speak for themselves.
Nice.
That's a really good point. I think with the exposure that this project has drawn, it's working in that sense, but we're not actively trying to do something like that. If people would like to come and see the bee cello, please come to England, come to Home Pierpont Hall where it's based, and have a look for yourselves and experience that wonder that we have.
As I've studied the science out of Berkeley, and a gentleman there named Dacher Keltner who talks about wonder and awe and what this does for people, one of the outcomes of awe is a pro-social kind of mindset. Now, when we say social, we're thinking about humans, but bees are a very social kind of phenomenon, right? And the care that emerges out of this is, in my experience, it really is an outcome of wonder.
I think it's something perhaps we lack of, because people are engaging less with the outside world, with the animals, with the plant kingdom, because we secure everything in the supermarket. And everybody wakes up from bed in the morning and is concerned about their work. And you go to work and you deliver the goods. I think in the past, when people used to engage more with the animals and the plant kingdom, people cared more. And I think it was a more harmonious way of living. I love very much what you have just said. And I think it's something we're beginning to miss in modern society.
Each of you perhaps could respond to my next question in turn, which is, have you seen your own capacity for care and compassion increase because of your ongoing activity in proximity to these marvelous, indescribable creatures called bees?
What a splendid question. What a splendid question. Absolutely yes. 200% yes. Absolutely. I surprise myself waking up worrying about the weather, not for me, for the bees. Because if it's sunny today, they're going to forage. If it's raining, they're not going to forage.
That is so true.
And I surprise myself thinking of how cold or how warm it's going to be because of the bees. How are they going to cope today?
Yeah.
And if I walk in the countryside and I discover a splendid field of flowers, I'm not thinking, wow, what beautiful flowers. I'm thinking, ooh, some nice resources for my bees. They should come here and forage here. Yes, it's a splendid question. And yes, 200% yes.
Before I met Martin, I didn't know anything about bees. And of course, bees invaded our garden, our home, our life, our weekends, and became more and more of a big thing. And I've learnt about bees, and in doing so, I've come to respect so highly their social structure. Every bee has a job to do in their society, and each bee will dedicate themselves to that task. There's no arrogance. There isn't any of that in bees, and their sole purpose is to maintain the health of the hive and the longevity of the hive. And it's so admirable when I got at least to understand how this all works. You think, wow, we could all learn so much from the bee. We really could. So to answer your question, that's definitely affected me, having bees enter my life. Yeah.
It may have just been serendipity that this ever happened. It's a decade on now.
That word came to my mind too.
It's a beautiful thing, and I have admiration for your persistence in pursuing it and keeping it going. Do you know, because of the accelerometer, in advance, if one of the hives is going to swarm away from your cellos? Is that a yes?
Yes and no.
Yes and no?
There's a yes and a no. There's a yes and a no. Sorry. The cello will swarm multiple times, and I've witnessed it swarming. And beekeepers will know what I'm talking about, that a colony will swarm several times in the spring. Not once, but usually twice, 3 or 4 times. And the very first swarm, which is the one where you lose your old queen, that one is impossible to sense. It's got nothing associated with it that you could pick up. The other ones, the second, the third, the fourth, they come with an extraordinary queen signal, which is called piping, And I'm going to impersonate a queen bee for you piping now. So before the second, the third, or the fourth swarm, you will hear the queen piping, and she goes, ooh, 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 ooh. And the accelerometer will pick that up with huge sensitivity, because the queen is twice bigger than the other worker bees. And that vibration is gigantic. Sometimes you can even hear it by naked ear. And so, yes, the second, the third, the fourth swarms, they are easy to pick up because that signal will be heard several days before the swarm. There you go.
Are you the discoverer of that fact?
I have published a new interpretation of the queen piping. So the queen piping is known for a long time because if you're lucky, you can hear it as a beekeeper. But the response between the queen pipings amongst themselves, so they duet. The queen bees in a honeybee colony, they duet with each other. So one launches the whoop, 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 and then another queen will reply by quacking, quack, 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 quack. And it's a duet which takes place for several days. And the purpose of the duet is a mystery.
I like the word mystery quite a bit.
Yeah. And I think I just want to add something to what Martin just said. Most of us, well, when he said you can hear the queen, it's obviously a vibrational signal, and he's interpreted it into that sound. But most of us will, if we come across a beehive, not know what on earth is going on. And to have this little window into what's going on is so exciting. And, you know, to translate it or interpret it in quacking and tooting or whatever else it is, you're getting closer and closer to what really is going on. And that is just, it's a wonder. It really is a wonder.
Many thanks to Deidre and Martin Benchik for the generosity of time they've given us and the interest they've taken in Constant Wonder. If I'm near a beehive in the springtime, I guarantee you I'm going to venture close enough to listen up for any queen bees piping away in a duet. This episode was produced by Jess Scoville with assistance from Lily Jensen and Mamie Teeples. Sound design by Ted Kim. Be sure to tell people you know and love about the value of Constant Wonder in your life and theirs, as well as the benefit of listening to this, the Constant Wonder podcast, which is available on all the major podcast platforms. And we'd love to hear from you anytime by email. Write to us, constantwonder@byu.edu. I'm Marcus Smith. Constant Wonder is a production of BYU Radio. I want to shine a spotlight on another incredible show from the BYU Radio family of podcasts. It's called Top of Mind, and it resonates in a big way with those who want to engage with the important, tough issues facing our communities, but who are dismayed by polarizing and divisive approaches to these issues. Each week, Top of Mind tackles one tough topic. Award-winning host Julie Rose talks with guests about complex, challenging perspectives, and the Top of Mind experience doesn't aim at persuading you to change your mind. Instead, it opens a door for empathy and clarity in the interest of becoming better citizens and kinder neighbors. Listen to Top of Mind wherever you get your podcasts. We now return to Constant Wonder.